Conditions impacting millions, flash floods in the east, devastating fires in the west, and a dangerous heat wave spreading across the country. We begin with those floods, a state of emergency in Kentucky, at least 4 people killed, a church lifted off its foundation by floodwaters, multiple water rescues, and first responders going door to door to evacuate homeowners. The western fires turned deadly where Utah meets Colorado. 3 firefighters killed when flames overtook their position. The largest fire in the U.S. has now grown to the size of Philadelphia. Utah's governor bans personal fireworks for the week. Plus, the extreme heat forecast this week, more than 100 million on alert. How hot will it be for the holiday week? Our weather team times it all out. Also tonight, the U.S.-Iran ceasefire is being tested again with new attacks from both sides. Iranian drones and missiles targeting Bahrain and Kuwait. The growing tension over who controls the Strait of Hormuz. The race against time in Venezuela. Dramatic rescues days after the earthquakes, but rescuers face impossible odds with nearly 60,000 buildings damaged or destroyed. A skydiving tragedy, 11 killed when their plane took a nosedive right after takeoff. A horrifying death at a popular resort. Guests watched in horror as a crocodile dragged a man out to sea. An urgent warning tonight why more than 900,000 bottles of heart and kidney medication are being recalled. Growing outrage over this hard foul on Caitlin Clark. A teammate accuses the WNBA of failing to protect one of its brightest stars. Tonight, the coach of the player who was suspended is speaking out. Serena Williams set to make her Wimbledon comeback and what she did after she was invited to play in the tournament. And pride across the country, the joyful and colorful celebrations from coast to coast.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Lindsay Davis. We begin tonight with the extreme weather from coast to coast, deadly flooding in Kentucky, deadly fires in the west, and a dangerous heat wave moving east. The floodwaters in Kentucky have left a trail of destruction, overwhelming roads, homes, and communities, and triggering dramatic rescues. At least 4 people have died. In the west, 3 firefighters lost their lives after they could not find an escape route or shelter from the fast-moving flames near the Colorado-Utah border. 2 others were injured. States of emergencies were declared in Utah and Colorado, and more than 100 million Americans are on alert as a dangerous heat wave unfolds this week. The scorching heat is coming from the Midwest and moves east as the holiday week gets underway. By Wednesday, it will feel like the triple digits from Washington, D.C. to New York City. ABC's Morgan Norwood leads us off with the state of emergency in Kentucky.
Where it went.
Tonight, deadly flash flooding in Kentucky. Torrential rains triggering dozens of water rescues and swamping entire communities. This video posted to social media showing the moments after firefighters pulled a driver to safety, nearly swallowed by the rising floodwaters. Some counties hit with record or near record amounts of rain.
Yeah, I'm not trying this.
In Madison County, roads turning into rivers. This powerful, fast-moving flood sweeping this church off its foundation. Governor Andy Beshear declaring a state of emergency after at least 4 people were killed. In Bullitt County, emergency crews going door to door, pulling residents from homes surrounded by rising floodwaters.
It's been hectic. It's been a long day. A lot of people didn't want to vacate their homes.
In Spencer County, children waking up to find their neighborhoods submerged.
I guess it's like kind of scary. In our backyard, it has a lot of like water, and I was just in the water. It was warm and cold at the same time.
And Lindsay, tonight the focus shifting from rescues over to cleanup as that flood threat finally starts to subside and more drier air moves into the region. Lindsay?
We can use that. All right, Morgan, thank you. Now to 2 more on those raging wildfires in the west turning deadly. Utah's Cottonwood fire is one of the most destructive in the state's history. It's just one of 12 large wildfires in the state. It scorched more than 93,000 acres so far. It is at 0 containment. ABC's Melissa Dunn is in Utah tonight.
Tonight, the all-out effort to contain multiple wildfires burning across the west, now turning deadly. 3 firefighters were killed, 2 others hurt, battling a fire at the Utah-Colorado border. Officials say they were trapped by the fire with no escape. First responders today honoring them with a procession in Grand Junction, Colorado.
It's the ultimate sacrifice, and we never like to hear when that happens. We take a step back and we reassess how we're doing things, and we make sure that everybody's being as safe as possible.
Utah's Cottonwood fire erupting into 144 square miles, roughly the size of the city of Philadelphia, the largest fire in the country. At least 1,000 people evacuated from the Cherry Fire, both fires 0% contained. An ongoing drought and record low snowpack are helping fuel the flames. Utah's governor banning fireworks for the 4th, but his order allows counties to assign areas where fireworks may still be used. Some local governments saying they will allow it. And while the U.S. continues to heat up, Western Europe is cooling down after a week of record-breaking heat. Officials in France now saying the country experienced a surge of additional deaths since Wednesday, at least 1,000 during one of the worst of the heat waves on record. Lindsay, we've seen several aircraft providing water drops for a nearby wildfire just a couple of miles away from us. This as Colorado's governor is calling those 3 firefighters who died in action heroes. Lindsay?
They certainly did, and our hearts go out to their families. Our thanks to Melissa. Let's get right to ABC's meteorologist Leslie Lopez. And Leslie, you're also tracking a dangerous heat wave. Tell us about that.
You know, it's settling in that dangerous heat into the Midwest now, so I want to show you the alerts that are already getting prompted. We're seeing extreme heat warnings along with heat watches and heat advisories. Many states, millions of people under this dangerous heat wave. This is going to be a long, protracted event. We're looking at 103 degrees out towards Chicago as a heat index, also out towards Nashville, 102, getting into Detroit, 97. That's all moving out towards the east. Look at areas like New York, 103 by Wednesday, 106 by Thursday. Even Washington, D.C. hitting 104 by Thursday as a heat index. And then we move out towards the west. Extreme risk of fire spread still remains for the Four Corners. We're looking at wind gusts of 50 miles per hour, single-digit humidities, and unfortunately very dry fuels in the area that could really contribute to the rapid fire spread. The good news is some relief by tomorrow. We're looking at some cooler temperatures, and so that will hopefully aid in the firefight.
They certainly need a break out there. All right, Leslie, thank you. Overseas now to the escalation of retaliatory strikes between the U.S. and Iran over the Strait of Hormuz. Overnight, Iran launched a barrage of missiles and drones toward Bahrain and Kuwait, home to U.S. military bases. It's straining an already fragile ceasefire agreement. Here's ABC's senior White House correspondent, Selena Wang.
Tonight, the U.S. and Iran escalating threats and attacks. Tehran says it targeted U.S. military sites in Kuwait and Bahrain, warning American bases in the region will be experiencing hell during these days. A U.S. official tells ABC News Iran launched drones and missiles towards those neighboring countries. So far, no reported U.S. casualties or damage. This image released by the Iranian military appears to show a message written on a missile launched at allies in the region. The message taunting the president, saying the only success of Trump is the increased income of American coffin makers and wheelchair manufacturers for his soldiers in this defeated war. The new attacks come hours after the U.S. struck Iran again in direct response to continued Iranian aggression against commercial shipping. Trump issuing a warning saying there may come a point when we are no longer able to be reasonable and will be forced to militarily complete the job that we very successfully started.
The president's patience isn't going to last forever.
That U.S. strike, retaliation for an Iranian drone hitting a tanker on Saturday, the second attack on a ship crossing the Strait of Hormuz in just days. Both sides signing that memorandum of understanding just over a week ago, but new questions tonight about how long it could last. Under that deal, Iran promised to reopen the strait. Instead, it's trying to control it. Iran's foreign minister now claiming Iran alone manages the strait, warning against any interference.
And Lindsay, the two sides still can't even agree on what that deal says. It calls on Iran to arrange for the safe passage of ships through the Strait of Hormuz for 60 days, but it does not define how. Iran clearly now thinks that they manage the strait, a power it didn't have before this war began, Lindsay.
And Selena, what about the next phase of talks with Iran?
Well, Lindsay, a senior administration official tells me tonight that those planned talks are still going ahead in the coming days and that the two sides are still exchanging messages, Lindsay.
All right, Selena Wang from the White House, thank you. Now to the growing desperation and frustration in Venezuela after those two back-to-back earthquakes. This dramatic aerial footage captures the scope of the devastation. More than 1,400 people killed, nearly 60,000 buildings damaged or destroyed. But as the search for survivors stretches into the fourth day, there is also hope. Here's ABC's Marcus Moore.
Tonight in Venezuela, more triumph. 4 days after a pair of powerful and deadly quakes, rescuers pull a father and son out of the rubble alive. They were rescued in the hard-hit area of La Guaira, north of Caracas. Crews have worked day and night in a race to save as many people as they can. U.S. teams bringing highly trained urban search and rescue dogs. Their unique senses piercing the rubble and helping to find those trapped underneath. This time, an 11-year-old boy. One rescuer saying he's going to be okay. Earlier, these moving images as rescuers saved a mother and her infant child. Meanwhile, tonight, satellite images reveal the staggering scale of the destruction. Researchers estimate nearly 60,000 buildings were damaged or destroyed. Apartment towers ripped open, entire neighborhoods reduced to rubble. The death toll remains at more than 1,400 people. Freelance journalist Clavel Rangel is in La Guaira at a refugee center.
Behind me, volunteers are sorting clothes, food, water, and shoes. Doctors are providing medical care, while others are bringing toys and organizing activities for children.
As the search continues, U.S. Marines are helping deliver emergency aid. UNICEF says nearly 680,000 children now need humanitarian assistance. Every rescue brings new hope, but with each passing day, the race to find more survivors becomes more urgent.
And Lindsay, on top of everything happening with the urgent rescue operation, Venezuela's hospitals are under strain, many operating at capacity. So there's a need for medical supplies and also shelter materials. Lindsay.
All right, Marcus, thank you. Back here in the U.S., the countdown is on for the 4th of July holiday travel. Millions of Americans are expected to get away for the holiday. Let's bring in ABC's Andrew Dimbert. Andrew, what should we expect?
So those millions of Americans, Lindsay, are preparing to hit the roads, rails, and skies in what's going to be a pretty busy 4th of July travel holiday week. The TSA is expecting to screen about 18.7 million passengers between Tuesday and July 6th, with Thursday, July 2nd, projected to be the busiest day as more than 3 million people take to the air. AAA says a record 72.2 million Americans will travel at least 50 miles from home over the holiday, surpassing last year's record. While nearly 5.9 million people are expected to fly, the strongest year-over-year growth is actually coming from other modes of transportation, like cruises, trains, and buses, but driving remains the top choice, with about 85% or so of holiday travelers expected to take a road trip as fuel prices start to cool a bit. Still, the national average for a gallon of gas is up over 61 cents from a year ago. Meanwhile, traffic is expected to start to build in the later part of the week. Thursday could be the worst of it. Lindsay?
All right, try and avoid that travel day, Andrew. Thank you. And stay with ABC News for Disney Celebrates America 250, a 24-hour nonstop live event on July 4th. Now to the growing divide over what the WNBA called a flagrant foul. The Phoenix Mercury's Alyssa Thomas appears to put her fist on Caitlin Clark's throat as they scrambled for a loose ball during a game on Wednesday night. Thomas was suspended one game, but now some are coming to her defense, saying it was hard play, not a dirty play. Here's ABC's Perry Russell.
Days after the WNBA announced this apparent fist pressed against the neck of superstar Caitlin Clark warranted a suspension.
To the ground and ooh.
Tonight, her Indiana Fever teammate Sophie Cunningham speaking out on her podcast, saying the two-time All-Star is being targeted and more needs to be done to protect her.
They're definitely targeting her, and the league and the refs do nothing to protect her.
The growing discussion across the league and beyond stems from this moment Wednesday night. Phoenix Mercury forward Alyssa Thomas falling on Clark, scrambling for the ball. At one point, Thomas appears to push into Clark's neck.
A hand to the neck.
Absolutely disrespectful. We have a generational talent and a WNBA superstar.
No foul was given during that game, but the WNBA reviewed the play and issued a flagrant foul against Thomas and suspended her for 1 game for recklessly making contact with her fist to the throat area. Mercury coach Nate Tibbetts questioning the investigation process, saying he's disappointed with the suspension.
The goal is to clean up our game, but I do think it's important not to rely on social media screenshots. This is a slippery slope, and let's watch the whole play, the whole game.
Tibbetts standing up for Thomas, a WNBA veteran and 6-time All-Star, calling her a tough competitor, not a cheap player.
I think it will be important for the commissioner to address what she believes are important key areas of emphasis for officiating so that this doesn't continue to be like a lightning rod issue.
Clark is also known as a physical player. She has 5 technicals on the year, and she has complained about the refs. She left the game on Wednesday with a back injury. Not clear if that is tied to the foul, Lindsay.
All right, Perry Russum for us. Thank you. There's so much more ahead on World News Tonight this Sunday, including a deadly crocodile attack at a popular seaside resort and the urgent warning why 2 drugs to treat heart and kidney disease are being recalled. A serious accident involving one of Boston's famous duck boats. One of those boats overturned as it was being towed on a ramp leading into the Charles River on Saturday afternoon. Fire officials in Cambridge say 11 people were hurt, 1 seriously. Massachusetts State Police and the U.S. Coast Guard are investigating what caused the accident. Overseas now to a deadly skydiving plane crash in northeastern France, killing 11 people. Everyone on board the plane died, including 5 nursing students. Authorities say the plane may have suffered a malfunction and nosedive shortly after taking off. The plane was taking part in a parachute jump. And in Mexico, a horrifying attack at a resort. Authorities say a crocodile dragged a man out to sea to his death. This happened Friday evening at a Marriott resort in Puerto Vallarta. A couple from California says that they heard screams and rushed to the water, but the victim disappeared. His body was found offshore on Saturday morning. The resort has not commented. When we come back, Serena Williams reveals what she did right after she was invited to play at this year's Wimbledon. Index now in an important recall involving 2 prescription drugs. Amgen is voluntarily recalling more than 900,000 bottles of Corlinor, which treats chronic heart failure, and Sensipar, used to treat chronic kidney disease. According to the FDA, the pills could be contaminated with a foreign substance. They were distributed between October of 2021 and last December. Serena Williams is about to make her return to Wimbledon. She takes the court on Tuesday, beginning her long-shot quest for an 8th singles title. Today, Williams told reporters that she had to talk herself into accepting the invitation to play after 4 years away from tennis. And she won't just be playing singles. She plans to team up with her older sister Venus in doubles. And a milestone for a comic genius. Mel Brooks, who hit it big as the 2,000-year-old man, he turned 100 years old today. He went on to produce hit after hit: Young Frankenstein, Blazing Saddles, The Producers on Broadway, just to name a few. And Brooks isn't slowing down. He's preparing to bring back his character from Spaceballs when the sequel premieres next year. When we come back, the joyous and colorful celebrations of Pride across America.
अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं, ये जो दिन सहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं, तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा बेसर्द लगता है, दिल का हर एक कोना अब बहुत ही दूर भरता है। अंधेरी दीवारों में खुद को ढूंढता हूँ मैं, ये जो दिन सुहाने थे उन्हीं को सोचता हूँ मैं, तुम्हारे बिन ये मौसम भी बड़ा सर्द लगता है, दिल का हर एक कोना बहुत ही दर्द भरता है, मेरे साए भी मुझसे अब जुदा होने को कहते हैं, तुझे खोने की राहों में ये आंसू बहने लगते हैं, कहाँ जाऊं कहाँ ढूंढूं मेरा वो साजो सामा, तो मेरी हर एक तमन्ना तू, मेरी रूह का मकान तू, लकीरों में नहीं लिखा जो तुमने ख्वाब देखा था, वफा की इस कहानी में फकत एक गम ही लिखा था, सितारों से भी पूछता है पता तेरा कहाँ होगा, मगर खामोश है दुनिया कहाँ मेरा जहाँ होगा। बस रह गया दर्द का असर